I feel we both, when we saw Noir, we were like, detective. And I think this is just broadening the aspect of Noir.
We're learning.
Gross.
Disgusting.
That is not the American way.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Want a cigarette?
Ah, leave me alone! I wanted to decide which line I wanted to use, because in 5 minutes there was a lot of talk about cigarettes, which very interesting given, like you said, the topic of today's episode is a movie that is about medicine and being in a hospital. But cigarettes.
Cigarettes. A cigarette a day keeps the polio away.
Spoilers.
It's a day, everybody. It's
not our usual recording day.
Mm-hmm.
I have my evening book club this usual recording day, so I offered Dpayne so that we don't fall too far behind to record today, and it kind of works out because we are watching older movies, and I miss when movies limits were like hour and a half most, otherwise too long.
Yeah, I was just sitting there, I was like, oh man, this is nice. It's like, it's funny because yesterday, me and the girlfriend, we were watching a movie. I remember what the movie's about. I don't know the name. Creation of the Gods 1.
Okay.
It's based off of like a famous Chinese novel, like ancient novel. If I could find out how to search on Wikipedia. There we go. Okay. It's the Investor of the Gods by the Ming Dynasty author Zhu Xiaolin. Probably mispronouncing that name. But it's like based off of it's got a lot of like Chinese mythology and stuff in it, and it was pretty interesting. The second one I heard isn't as well. She looked up and people were saying that it wasn't as good, but apparently they filmed, it's like 3 films, and they filmed all 3 back to back, and now they're like releasing them. The second one was supposed to release at the end of January, but one of the actors got into a scandal, and so it got pushed back. But yeah, no, it was pretty good. But the reason I brought that up was I was watching that, and that movie I think is like 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, does it have 148 minutes?
So a little bit over 2 hours.
Yeah, 220. Something around there. Yeah. So, but I was like sitting there watching it, and I had I feel like we attribute this to the Kubrick standards. Like, how much more movie is left? And it wasn't like I was bored or just like, oh my goodness. It was just, the way it was going, it felt like I don't understand what they could do, and they're like, there's another 30 minutes, and I was just like, what? Like, I don't know what else could be done. So I'm just sitting there, I was like, okay, because it feels like it tied it all up for like the next movie. But then there was like another set piece, and I'm like, oh,
it's going.
Yeah.
Still going.
And I'm just like, for me, like, I kind of want to read the story. Like, I want to read that and Monkey King.
That's Wukong, right?
Yeah, Wukong. And then there's like another story. Let's see if I can find his name, because this person's having movies come out as well. Nezha. I don't know if you've seen let's see if I just Google search his name, if I can get like the little because he had like a little animated movie, and yeah, apparently he's like almost similar in a way to Wukong. Like he has the same thing, but he's just like, they call him like a little demon kid.
Okay.
This is like what the movie looks like. But it might just because I've been watching a lot of Chinese media lately. I'm getting this.
Getting advertised.
Yeah. But he pretty much, he has like this red scarf thing that has like, I guess is similar to Doctor Strange's cape from the bits and pieces I've seen. That's kind of like floats around and moves in there. But the thing is, like, he has these rings around his feet that like pop off and become like wheels, and he's just roller skating in the air.
Oh, what a cute kid.
Yeah. So, and the movie is just funny because it's got like all these serious like men just all around, and then he's just like, let me punch him, let me hit him. And they're just like, and I feel like the person that's just helpful, like that he's like under to like that he's supposed to be helping, he's constantly like, don't kill him, please don't kill the humans. He's like, fine. But so I don't know, I'm interested in seeing his spin-off movie, but yeah, it's interesting. It's I guess it's nice to see things that aren't a very poor recreation of a previous movie done in America.
Okay, yeah.
Like, as I said in the past, I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast, especially since we've started doing movies, I don't have anything against remakes if the original movie didn't convey the well enough, like the like what the source material is based off of. I think the best example I use is Judge Dredd.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Sylvester Stallone one, it was an okay movie, but it was not a Judge Dredd movie.
Okay.
And
just
Dredd,
a straight up action movie versus, yeah.
Because like in the comics, like I've read a couple of Judge Dredd comics, like you never see his face. He is constantly wearing that helmet and everything, and just pretty much all that. Now I'm pretty sure as I say this, somebody's gonna be like, well, actually there's this one. It's like, shut up.
Hey, comment below if D-Payne's ever wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, but then the whole the new one, I think, was like he's very much like a machine. Where I think he's like, I think they're like bioengineered to be that way, and it felt like it was a closer representation of the film. The problem is not a lot of people saw it, so, and then a bunch of people watch it afterwards like, this movie's great. Why didn't it get a sequel? It's like, it was supposed to have 2 more, but not enough people watched the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing where it's funny seeing the way that media chooses to portray things. My example I always go to is like Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the book Frankenstein has like some really low ratings where they're like, it wasn't scary, he wasn't green, he's not a monster. It's like, yeah, because you saw one movie poster from like the 70s and you went, that's Frankenstein, and then that's what's stuck in your head, versus like actually, you know, taking the source material and like, you know, taking it for what it is. But I do imagine like maybe it'll do all right now, because I've heard the reception to Nosferatu was actually pretty positive. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I am curious if they try to do a true Frankenstein film, if it would even go well, because, you know, by name alone, people are like, oh, give me big, scary, big monster. Don't give me feelings.
Well, yeah. Well, that and they're like, Frankenstein, the scientist who made... or Frankenstein, the monster that the scientist made. Is like, no, you're wrong. Flip.
I mean, there's Frankenstein's monster and then Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, But yeah, I don't know. It will be interesting.
Well, I guess to make a segue for this, then, do you think any of the movies by Ito Lupino we've seen yet should be remade?
Um, I could see the Not Wanted. I could see that one being redone as a thriller.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Never Fear. I think it's possible. I don't think it would be polio.
It'd be about, yeah, it'd be measles now. Sorry.
Yeah, like it honestly, like Never Fear could be done. Like I feel like in any age, like whatever the like kind of thing is, like
Active pandemic.
yeah, like well, I could see. Like the first thing that came to my mind would be like, oh, now I'm gonna get the dates wrong. Probably like in the 80s or 90s, it would be like AIDS or something. Yeah, like that. It wouldn't work with COVID.
No, there's not. COVID in its peak didn't exactly have a recovery plan, so to speak.
Yeah. So, but like I could see like tuberculosis being.
I don't know if there's a recovery plan for tuberculosis either.
There was attempt. It was like that. She recovered in Haiti.
There's a lot of lethality to it, though. Versus like
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess it just depends because in this movie, the setup for it is almost it's almost like a retirement facility.
Yeah.
Except, yeah.
So,
Or I guess in more modern times, you could make it about addiction.
yeah. Which would I'm gonna remember to mute my phone. So, but I feel like the I don't know, the romance in parentheses.
I was reminded why I hate men. But in any case, of the times, when we say that these movies are of the times, it's not necessarily, well, there is some language that I don't agree with getting used, but nothing so harsh. But it really is about more the sensibilities of what a relationship should and shouldn't be, and also how young they are supposed to be. Like, so there's a line in it, they're like, she's allowed to vote now, and I was like, she's 18? But apparently you had to be 21. Yeah. But in any case, still way too young for everything she's going through.
So, but I feel like if Never Fear was done today, it would, I don't know. I feel like it would be a couple different ways. Like it really would depend on the director.
Oh, you know what's silly? We're saying this as if it doesn't kind of already exist. Is it John Green has the one movie about like people, like teenagers in a cancer ward that fall in love?
Oh, is
that one The Fault in Our Stars?
I'm like, that was literally the title I was thinking. I was like, is that the right thing? So, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess it would be cancer.
It sounds like it sounds like how you go to a doctor for a diagnosis and they're like, "Sir, it's cancer." It would be cancer.
I knew it would be.
Shouldn't make light of that. In any case, if you haven't figured out from us chatting, this week's movie that we watched is Never Fear, as we continue through watching various directors. Are you ready to roll some dice and answer some questions, Itisdpayne?
Yes. I gotta find the die. I found the die.
You did.
I'm ready.
So we roll 12-sided dice because we are watching 12 different directors, one for each month. This month is Ito Lupino. Noir films, I guess, because with a more broad term, a bunch of cynical people forced into situations that make them even more cynical.
Yeah. I feel we both, when we saw noir, we were like, detective. And I think this is just broadening the aspect of noir.
We're learning.
Gross.
Disgusting.
That is not the American way.
A little on the nose. I mean, I did
make
the joke about measles. Mm-hmm. But we don't live in Texas, so I can joke about it from a distance.
Until it travels up.
Shh.
I rolled.
Okay, I rolled a 9.
Well, I rolled an 8.
Dang, I thought the dice were gonna pick
Punish
you
me?
today. Yeah.
No luck. As soon as I find the spreadsheet. There it is.
All right, so first I'll be giving a quick, 1 to 2 sentence summary of the movie, no spoilers. D-Payne has some questions for me to kind of discuss the movie in kind of a broad way, so you can choose whether or not you'd like to watch it yourself. And then we will have Spoiler Town that we will arrive to. We'll talk about anything and everything. We will, again, like we said last week, it'll be surprising if it turns out you've watched this already and you can go straight into Spoiler Town. But you know what? Good for you. You're well versed in movies, where we are trying. Which is wild, because we've basically been doing movies now for a year and a half, and I still feel like I have not seen nearly enough movies.
Yeah, well...
We've done movie brackets, but we've done dedicated movies now for... Because we did 24 for A24, and now we're doing the director's series.
Yeah. And then, well, for once, we don't know what's next. But to also be fair, we haven't set that up yet. It's still early, because...
Yeah, our brains will figure it out in probably a month.
One of us will. You
probably
made a suggestion.
You at 2 a.m. I made a suggestion?
You made a suggestion for our next recording day, which when I read when you sent it to me, it's like, that sounds like something I would say.
Yeah. Maybe we have been podcasting for too long.
Yeah.
Our brains are melding.
That sounds worse for you than it is for me.
But in any case, so...
Never fear, you got D-Payne-itis.
Summary of this movie is we have a young couple who are trying to make it out in the entertainment industry. In this specific scenario is dance. But soon after they find that they are... What was it? An agent or something is came or is coming. She falls pretty ill, and she's diagnosed with polio, and we follow along as she deals with recovery and understanding what's next in life. And the movie prefaces it as I think did it say based on a true story or based on the story of people who have fought through?
I think it was, I think it wasn't
a 1-for-1.
Yeah, but I think it's hey, this is something that happens to people all the time, so go get vaccinated or something.
Woke. Her last movie opened in the Not Wanted movie, it opened with, this is a story that happens to a lot of people. So I think I'm starting to see a theme with her movies, but...
Well, I just was scrolling through the Wikipedia. Lupino had contracted polio in 1934 and suffered the same fevers and pains as Carol Williams' character, and also pretty much it's her story. If she didn't know if she was going to be able to walk again. But it said her major symptoms only persisted for a brief period of time, leaving her with minor problems in her leg and hand. And she has remained a supporter of causes to fight the disease. And Never Fear was released in 1949, the year America's highest ever recorded total polio cases.
That explains why. I was like, the hospital setup seems pretty legitimate, and it's not a lot of movies where you see characters go through a training montage is not the way to put it, but a healing montage.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of modern movies, they'll be like, I couldn't walk yesterday, but today I'm punching a punching bag. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But in this movie, the steps that she had to go through made sense to me as what they would have done in the 40s.
Once again, this is probably also in the trivia thing, but I think it helps with what we're talking about. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
But the rehabilitation scenes were shot at Cabot Kaiser Institute in Santa Monica, California, and many of the actors that were used are actual rehab patients of the institute.
That's fun. And
And
that's
oh no,
I
no,
was
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's a thing that I get annoyed with modern movies about, where they like they just get background actors and don't actually acknowledge like people have gone through this. I mean, it's kind of like having a sensitivity reader for a book, but no, that's neat.
Yeah, and then there's a scene which we'll probably bring up later, where it's a wheelchair square dance featured a group of real wheelchair dancers
They were so good.
from that institute.
Yeah, they're so good.
That's why they put Sally Forrest at the end. They're like, get back. We don't. I
Well,
will
her
say,
bit was supposed to be her being bad at it, so.
yeah. Well, I will say her like. There's a couple of there's a bunch of parts where you see her in a wheelchair, and I'm like, she can actually use the wheelchair pretty well. Like I can't. So like I was like, man, she's
Yeah, I've
really
never.
smooth at that. There's like, shoo.
Yeah, I've never tried, but yeah, I know when we watched Spike Lee movies, we joked about more movies should have music videos, and this movie basically had like 2 really long music videos.
Yeah, I was sitting there. At least the first one, I'm like, well, I know what Hop's gonna bring up.
I'm a simple lady, but all right. So, you ready to throw questions at me?
I cut you off. Did you finish the whole?
I figured the summary was pretty much there. Like, the main part of the movie is the journey she takes while she's figuring out what it means to live with polio.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say when you're like, she has something. I was like, oh man, I was about to say, oh, I have the vapors, and I'm like, what does the vapors? And so like my brain shut off for a second, so I was looking up what vapors was. It's an archaic use of a mental, psychological, or physical state of a hysteria and other stuff. So not the same case. But now I feel like it's just something that's said in jest. But anyway, hey, if this was your only Lupino movie, would you be intrigued, tempted, maybe even wanting to watch more that wasn't required viewing?
I think I fall in the same bucket as Not Wanted, where I like.
How'd you fall in that bucket? Who let you in there?
I like a lot of the movie, but I didn't like the interactions between opposite genders. Like, the actual core of the movie, some of the messaging isn't great, but there is a lot of ableism in that time, so I'm gonna, like, say, like, you know, give that a little bit of a... I don't agree, but I understand.
I'm a one-woman lady. I'm not a part-time lady. That's what it was.
Yeah, but and lots of sexism, of course. But I would say like maybe C plus B minus, where I think the things I'm starting to really appreciate about her movies are they do feel like true time capsules. Like it rather than trying to make a movie that is trying to do a lot of things, i.e. like a Stanley Kubrick, where it's like trying to be really big and innovative and timeless. Her movies feel like this is a snapshot and like this is kind of a slice of life. Granted, Not Wanted is not a typical life and Never Fear is not a typical life, but they both highlight things that I don't know if I have other source material for those kind of problems in that time period. So it's kind of like watching or reading like a historical fiction, I guess I would say, where you're like, oh, I learned something. It's not relevant to me. I hope not. Asterisk, I hope not. But it is pretty fascinating. Mm-hmm. How about you?
Yeah, I think I'd give it a C. Like, it was an interesting story, but like this one compared to Not Wanted, I found a little bit more difficult for me personally to get into.
It is a lot slower and there's a lot less happening, but in a way it's nice because she focused in on like the clinic versus the drama.
Yeah, like just reading that sentence, that short paragraph in the Wikipedia about like
her history.
Her history with it. I was like, oh, this movie now takes on a different light, and I'm like, okay. So, um, no, but I enjoyed that, and the yeah the it like now it's just like, as you were saying, so many montages in films today, which I feel like there isn't a ton of montages unless it's like, I'm putting on my super suit because all movies some reason need a superhero. Um, yeah, it's always just like progression, like, not that there wasn't progression in the montages here, but it's always not always, but it feels a lot more towards action and just like, yeah, we're winning because we can't share how we won this 800 battles in a row, so we're gonna do it in a 2 to 3 minute like music number, maybe less. And but this one, it was just, it was showing the different whatever it was, not workouts, but yeah, just exercises that she had to do, and just all the people that, like, just how they did that. And so it I don't know, it now that I learned that, like, the rehabilitation stuff, like, I'm just wondering if she, like, they're not wondering because it was put in there for a reason. So it's just like, hey, this like pretty much how the doctors are like, we're not going to sugarcoat it for you because like it really, like, we could do all that we want, all our medical things could say this, but depending on the case and who the person is and literally you as a patient, you can all, like, there's all these factors that will determine if you will recover. And so it wasn't always, where I feel like today it's just like, if this was done today, it's just like, well, we might have this experimental treatment.
We can unlock 10% more muscle capabilities if you trust us.
In your brain, you'll be able to use 100% of your brain and somehow become
invisible and psychic.
Yeah, I never actually seen the movie.
I haven't either.
I know there's drugs in her liver, and that's how she unlocks 30 more, well, however.
You know more than I do. But yeah, I think, yeah, it is definitely like a little bit slower. So, as like montages go. But in a way, I guess I can appreciate that she's probably thinking of telling a story in terms of, you know, helping people learn to be empathetic with people going through it. Mm-hmm. Granted, some parts I was like, wow, this is really overacted. But you know what? Maybe not. Maybe it is true to her experience.
Maybe everyone in the 1950s, around there, 1940s, was
threw
just
their closed fist on the floor and screamed a lot.
Maybe they were overreacting. And, like, how dare they make fun of us millennials for overreacting? We don't go and cry on the ground on TV.
Because, like, and both movies have, like, almost that same shot, and I was like, oh, it's happening again.
It just shows. That's why they said, oh, you're 21 now, you can vote, because it's like, after that, she no longer acted like a toddler.
But yes.
Anyway, speaking about toddlers, how much did you root for this? Any of the characters? I know one you didn't really root for at all.
No, I really... Sorry, just checking my phone real quick. I really... She's really good at making unlikable men. Unfortunately, the unlikable man in this one wins, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. I
was hoping he... Well, hold up. I'm going to wait.
No spoilers.
I almost spoiled this movie from the 1950s.
I mean, I also was rooting for something else, but I almost like I like where one of the storylines ended more than I expected. But again, all spoilers. Did I root for her recovery? Yes. Did I root for their relationship? No. Did I root for any of the side characters? The ones in the hospital, yes. Everybody else, no.
So you rooted for Dr. Hairy Arms.
He was very hairy.
That's like all I could see whenever he was
just
on
the one scene where his like arm is like this on like the side table and he's talking to her. I just kept staring at his arms.
Yeah, I'm like his his like as somebody who also has hairy arms, it's just like I feel like that's why he was hired because it shows up on camera.
But I guess if I had to give it a letter grade, since that's what we've been doing, I guess overall a C, maybe C plus. Because I do like, again, in comparing this with Not Wanted, I did root for the main character more in this one, but I rooted for the men in her life a lot less. So C, C plus. How about you?
Um, I voted for Fleep.
He was great for the kids.
No, he's a flea and a fly, not the person who made him. I want a movie on him.
No, I was saying he's great for the kids, like the cartoon
Yeah.
character, because he said he wrote the character so that the kids in the hospital had like a
Yeah.
comic book to read.
So I wish Never Fear was mixed with The Fly and Fleep came into reality, and then we could have the Ida Lupino monster universe. Anyway, yeah, like the whole medical side of it, I'm just like, I was like, yeah, cool. Let's see what happens. I wish I could see man fail at real estate.
I wanted to see him fail a lot more.
I want to see a 750 down payment for a house. But anyway,
And everybody 750.00.
Yes.
No commas.
No commas.
No
It was,
commas.
I saw that and I'm like,
Unless you're European. But then that would be in a different currency altogether.
yep. Cheese.
Is that how they pay for things in Italy?
Maybe. But yeah, so there was that, and yeah, so yeah, this is pretty much like I was like voting or not voting. I was hoping for, I had hope for her recovery because I'm like, I don't know, I could judging on because I'm trying to think the first movie didn't end favorably for the main actor, and so
It was a lot messier.
yeah. But then again, I could see how it's like I don't know. I could also see how it wouldn't like how she wouldn't work out. So I don't know. I was intrigued, but I don't think I was rooting necessarily for anybody because I'm just like I'm interested to see where some of these storylines go, but at the same time,
You don't really.
I don't-
The people themselves were fine.
yeah.
That's fair.
Now, what would you grade the plot?
If it wasn't for the romance part, I think I'd give it an A. But the romance plot, is that a whole letter? I guess I'll go B minus.
It's not a romance like Vampires of El Morte. I think
Norte.
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 Norte. They should
Yeah.
make that into a musical.
There's not a lot of chances for singing in there.
That's why they should do it.
But in any case, yeah, I guess I would give it a B minus. Because, I mean, I'm sure for the times the message is good. But some of the messaging in that, I was like, maybe I'm too much of an independent woman to believe in.
Me too.
How about you? What grade would you give the plot?
Well, as an independent woman. I think for me, like, in hindsight, like, pretty much all my stuff's like, okay, well, I find that more interesting now, but I'm like, the plot, like, I guess I would give it, for me personally, a C. Like, I think I was expecting, like, more kind of, because, like, sometimes I felt like, okay, is there, whatever her name is, Carol Williams, like, okay, she she cut it off with boy one, but is interested in boy two, but now boy, and it's like, is this like a love triangle or something where she's trying to recover? And it's like, I don't know. I wish they all got hobbies. He's a
Oh,
special man.
he man in hospital has hobby. He draw cartoon.
Yeah. The rest of them should get hobbies except for crying on the floor and real estate.
I I I was so excited if he was gonna go to Las Vegas, and they decided he wasn't going to anymore. I was like, no.
Yeah. Spoilers, but
They don't know why. They don't know what for. It's fine.
yeah.
So, final question before we
yeah.
get into spoiler town.
How likely would you recommend this movie to others?
I think it's like I said earlier last week with Not Wanted. It's for a very particular type of person. I don't know anyone that I could recommend this to.
Strider.
It, there's not a lot happening.
I was just seeing if I could just say anything that would get a reaction.
I guess, like, not that the movie's not good, but I guess a D.
Yeah, it's. I honestly don't know who I could recommend this to. Like,
I think Not Wanted is more interesting.
I think it's easier to get into.
It's easier to get into, and I think it's more interesting, not to say that, like, the director's life story and her recovery process isn't interesting, but the Not Wanted movie is something that's, I guess, a lot more different in terms of the pacing. Because it feels a little bit faster because she's trying to trace through, like, what happened to her. And there's a lot more woe is me. And it's like unintentionally funny looking at it in today's lens.
Mm-hmm.
Like her chasing him to another city, and it's like, girly, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then she meets another man, not by choice.
Yeah. It's her own fault. Sorry,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that.
It's not like she chose the ticket. It's really weird thinking about, like, just the quick peek back at
a lot of circumstances lined up. Yeah.
Well, and this is me not knowing how buses work in the 1940s, but I'm like, okay, you sat down there. Like, what, did he have, like, a blanket over his head the whole time? It's just like, or was it like assigned seating and was, like, she asleep when he got on, or, like, there's just things I'm like, I don't understand. Like, they made it feel like, oh man, I didn't realize you were sitting here.
Yeah, it's uncomfy. But in any case, yeah, I think we both.
If they had diarrhea on that train, and by train I mean car, I don't know. I'm just thinking of random things that would make that even worse.
I like how you still didn't say the right mode of transportation.
I don't know. What I say, train, car, whatever.
Bus.
Cheese.
Plane.
Automobiles. That's another movie.
It is. So
not on the well, I don't know who directed that one. But anyway, as you were saying.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we both land in the, if we were to recommend one of her movies, it probably wouldn't be this one unless someone has kind of like a story close to it, since polio is really not that far removed from society. Because the 40s, there are people that, like, their grandparents or great grandparents could have had it. But in any case, are we ready for Spoiler Town?
I believe so. I think one other fun thing I just saw here is that this was co-directed by Lupino's sister.
Oh,
and she's
Nepo
also
family.
She's also in the movie.
Is she?
According to Wikipedia, she's Josie.
Oh, Josie is at the very end where the lady is like, here's this cane, if you give it back, it'll have all our initials on it when she goes to, like, graduate. And she's like, thanks, Josie. I'll remember to do that. Like, and I was like, why are we using her name? We haven't met her before.
I didn't remember anybody's name in there. I was just, except for Guy. Hey,
Which,
Guy.
I hate that name. Because I think they're just randomly referring to someone.
Yeah, I think it's on purpose. But anyway, toot toot goes the automobile to Train Town to go to Spoilerville. I started the timer. Yeah, so my initial thought of the first 5 minutes of watching this movie, because let's see, in Not Wanted, Sally Forst's character is 19. In
Mm-hmm.
Never Fear, she's 20.
Mm-hmm.
And in a progressing relationship with the same actor,
As
Keith.
Not Wanted, yeah.
Yeah. And so my mind thought, what my brain did in the first 5 minutes of watching this movie was like, he healed his legs, and then he gave it to her. And then it's one of those things where I realized I'm sitting there watching it and like how they're talking about polio, and I'm just like, polio is one of those terms I've always heard, but because of, well, hot topic, vaccines exist. Um, it's one of those like,
You don't
except
think about it
I don't think
anymore.
about it. So like I looked it up, and like I have the Wikipedia open up now, where um, mild symptoms could be a sore throat, a fever, and then as it develops, it could be in headache, neck stiffness, and I can't pronounce this word, paresthesia, which
Oh,
is
like paralysis?
yeah, well, like those are the pins and needles,
Oh, okay.
and then those symptoms pass within a week or two. Less common symptoms is permanent paralysis and and possible death in extreme cases. Years after recovery, some post polio syndrome may occur, all that stuff, and then and then I'm just was like reading through there, like polio occurs naturally in humans. It's highly infectious and spread from person to person through fecal oral transmission. And I was like, what the heck are they doing? But then it says or via oral route. Um, so yeah, if they would go the polio route in in the remake of this movie, I don't want to know. But anyway, so yeah, that that was the thing.
I think polio is still technically a thing. I
Oh
think it's still
yes,
technically around.
yes. I think they did say that like nine. I think bring up the tab again because it did say, yeah, 75% of the cases are asymptomatic now. So, which is good. So, anyway, I also had what I thought would have been a funny end is if Guy was a hallucination.
That would be very interesting.
So,
Yeah, but overall, I wanted Guy out of the movie. I was so done with him and his antics. The moment that he picked her up to go for the drive and was like, I need you. You don't understand. I'm frothing at the mouth. And she's like, no, I don't want to kiss. And he's like, I don't care what you want. I want what I want. I said, sir, I need to call the police. I need to call a hotline. Not that they had these hotlines available in that time, but I would like to call a hotline for her. And then and then he goes and disappears and goes, I'm drunk at work. I'm going to sleep with the secretary that even got me my job at the real estate company in the first place. And she's like, sweetheart, honey, you're sleeping with your shoes on my couch.
that annoyed me more than him opening his mouth. I'm like, why are your shoes? Why first off, why are you wearing your shoes inside?
And then on her couch.
Yeah, I was like, no, call the cops immediately.
But then she's watched him sleep. And I was
Yeah,
like, wow,
they're
everybody's
they're
weird.
both weirdos. I just think everyone in the 1950s was just horny all the time.
Yeah. I imagine being so repressed by your media that at 19, or no, I guess at 21, 22, because she implies he's the same age as her. He's foaming at the mouth saying he can't handle it anymore. And then, yeah, and then he goes and he's like, well, I found a replacement for you. I mean, she's not as good as you get, I guess, but I'm going to go to Vegas now. And she's like, oh my God, I've been trying to recover and this is how you treat me. He goes, well, you said I couldn't smooch you, so goodbye. But I also thought it was an interesting plot point that every time she was trying to figure out, like, she was clearly having a lot of, like, identity issues because she was a dancer. Like, that's her whole career, and she put all of her energy into being a dancer. And then she has these two grown men. One, her father, who her father, I guess her mom's dead because her father's like, don't you go dying on me. You're the only woman left in my life. Don't you fuck it up. Don't you fuck this up. And then her fiance, I guess he is at that point, is like, I can't wait until we can be famous and dance soon. I'll make money until we can start dancing. And she's just sitting there going, wow, I hate myself because my body doesn't work. And then this freaking fiance coming around going, oh my God, why are you yelling at me? All I did was come and tell you I can't wait till you can walk down the aisle for our wedding. And she's like, well, I can't walk. And he goes, yeah, you'll figure it out. Like, yeah, I'd be pissed off too. And then all the other people around her going, that's really fucked up of you to yell at the able-bodied guy. And I got really, really pissed off when he goes, maybe the selfish people are the sick ones. And I went, you bastard. How dare you? She's sitting here falling on the ground, trying to force herself to walk early because you give her all this pressure. And you go, you know what? You're being selfish. All because he wants to stick his penis into her.
Well, according to the Wikipedia thing, they've been eating poop.
I was curious. I went to the CDC. It says you can also get polio if you eat something that's been contaminated, if it's raw or undercooked.
Poop.
If you happen to touch something contaminated and then put your hand in your mouth, or have close contact with someone. I don't know if she necessarily seemed to know anybody else, but
yeah, it was poop.
It was poop.
It was poop the whole time.
It was poop all along.
Yep. So yeah, that whole scene of the car thing, I'll admit, I dozed off for like a minute after the wheelchair dance, and I'm like, cool. And then they had their like, let me take you out somewhere, and just drove her away, and they had the conversation. Don't remember any of that conversation. I just remembered they're like, oh, we're having the thing. And then by the way, everyone, I just finished watching this movie like an hour ago. So so anyway, they did that, and then they're like, hey, Carol, you got to go down to Dr. John Johnsky. I forgot his name. To go. He has a message for you. And then like she rolls in, and it's just like he's there, and I'm just like, that's a weird reaction. And then like the way they were yelling at each other, I was like,
oh wait, did you fall asleep
when she broke up or called it off?
No, when they had a fight after the wheelchair dance.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll tell you this: the reason why she has this reaction. Did you rewind for it or no?
Nope.
Okay.
Because I was just like, oh, I didn't even realize a cut happened. So I'm just like, oh,
the
okay.
wheelchair guy tries to cheer her up and says, I'll be your partner for the square dance.
I did see that. Yeah.
And then they do the square dance, and the fiance shows up and goes, it's so cute how you got all befuddled out there. And she goes, wow, you're just laughing at me because I'm in a wheelchair and I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, no, that's not what I mean. She's like, why did you even show up here anyway, just to make fun of me? He goes, no, I want to be a supportive man. And then they go and go to like a secret room or some side room. And she's like, I don't think I can be the woman that you want me to be. And he goes, of course you can. You're going to walk again. And we're going to walk down an aisle. And she's like, no, you don't understand. This is really hard. And I don't know if I can make it. I don't want to force you to be a caretaker and like carry me up and down the stairs and all of this stuff. And he goes, no, you'll walk again. And she's like, you know what? I can't deal with this. And then like, she has a bit of a hysterical break and like, tells him to like leave and never come back. But then that's what I mean. There was another lady in the room. She's like, I think you're all mixed up on the inside.
Oh,
like, yeah, she is.
Okay, I saw that part.
So you blanked the actual fight.
Yeah, I just told, like, I think I also was texting. So, like, I think I caught bits and pieces of that. Like now that you mentioned, it's like I do have vague recollection about that. And then what was it? Was it the lady? I just remember that I thought it was the other guy in
I mean, it
Crutches.
was a couple. They both were
Yeah.
like making fun of her, which I thought was unfair. But
Nah, everyone deserves to be made fun of. But yeah, so it was just like you're real mixed up in the head. And it's just like, ah! and then next thing is just like, hey, let's go for a drive.
Yes, yes. So now you understand why she rolled into the office and went, "Ew, I don't want to see
Yeah.
him." She did technically tell him.
She didn't learn how to reverse in the wheelchair.
You were just complimenting how she did in the wheelchair.
I know. I'm complimenting the actor. The character didn't learn how to reverse in the wheelchair, so she couldn't get out of there. But
Well, the doctor kept saying, I prescribe you. You're required to leave. You're required to go away with this man you're clearly uncomfortable with because I've wrote a prescription."
I feel like the doctor was just tired of both of them. Just like, get out of my office. I need to comb my arm hairs.
Well, he also had the other patient come in immediately afterwards,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, he definitely seemed like he
Busy.
was constantly like all doing like back and forth with everybody. Like it's so, but from what I remember of the doctor, that was just like whenever he interacted with somebody, it was like, no, like here's to the point, like here's what we're doing, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Like he was truthful in what he was saying. Yeah, but he wasn't like mean about it. He's just like and it felt like, I don't know, the doctor was actually doctoring rather than just like, I'm here because
Yeah, he wasn't like blowing up like, well, if you just believe in yourself. Instead, it was like, no, if you work at it, then we can find out where you land.
Mm-hmm.
But and then there's that interesting part and where she's like, "Hey, can I ask you an honest question? How is so and so doing?" I think his name was Len. And the doctor was like, "His case is just different than yours." She's like, "Well, I feel guilty that I recovered." He's like, "Well, your diagnosis was just different. You can't help it. Like, don't feel guilty about it."
Mm-hmm. Now go outside and have a panic attack because
go get harassed by the man that you say you love or don't love. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's very confusing.
I was expecting like because the end when like she was walking, I thought it was interesting where it's just like, because that was the thing that was confusing me about that whole scene, because they literally say your dad's outside. Mm-hmm. And then he literally isn't. He's just like, she's taking too long, I'm going home.
They just lie to her.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, and then she's there, and like everyone's able to like walk around. Like that's something I thought was interesting, where it's just like inside the recovery, rehabilitation house, like she, like compared to the majority of the people there, could walk well and could move. And then as soon as she steps outside, she is like bombarded by like 10 to 15 people, all walking, taking up the space, carrying things, and it's just become so overwhelming where she's just like, oh my goodness. And I feel that if this was done by a director who didn't go through this, we wouldn't have a scene like that.
That's true. Yeah, because it's a process, right? Like, even a lot of people, like post-surgery and everything, you still go to physical therapy for a number of years, and you have to do stretches at home to make sure, you keep the muscles strong and like everything connected in the body from like brain to muscle recovery. So yeah, for her to walk out with a cane and just be like, it's bright outside, it's loud, there's people, I can't just like, I'm not in my isolated space where I can just focus on what walking is again. Yeah, that's a good point. Because I did like the scene with the doctor where he's like, all right, turn around, look in the mirror, and remember how to walk. She's like, no, doctor, I'm not going to make it. And he's like, you're fine. Just do it.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, it didn't, like, that whole scene, like, I could see how some people was like, oh, the doctor was so heartless. Like, no, that's the job of a doctor in that area. It's like
Yeah, you want to see people remember that they can do things,
Yeah.
and you have to kind of push them out of the nest a little. It'd be like, you can, you just have to do it. You have to like do
Well,
it.
yeah, but like the other side of it is like he's witnessed her, like all the changes. Like I think she's been in there for about a year.
Oh yeah, because like the one nurse was proving to the doctor her progress, because the nurse was telling her to like lift her calf up and
Yes,
down, and then she's like, the nurse is like, you did that without assistance, and she's like, I what?
yeah. Well, like that, I had to rewind that because that's when I was like one of the
Another dose.
yeah, but like I rewound it to the beginning of that, and yeah, like my brain like disconnected for a second. So if I repeat what you said, I'm sorry. But the
Okay.
yeah, like the doctor's the one that tells the nurse to like not lift her foot. Like I don't it's like real subtle. Because he's just like, no. And then she's just like, okay, do it. Like no change, and it's just like so like the doctor is noticing the progression and everything going on to the point like when he tells her, it's just like, no, you got to let go, like like you physically know how you're being like I've seen TikToks of like people who do physical therapy, and it's like
It's a lot of it's a mental game as well as
Yeah.
a physical. Yeah.
so because like you remember your body remembers like when I did this it gave me ouch, but like everything else it's like no, you can't be relying on the crutch. So yeah, it's I don't know, there's a lot of characters. Like I liked all the characters except for the two main ones. I like the guy who was in charge of the real estate place or the happy
Oh my
homes.
god. E is for eviction.
Yeah, but like I don't like I don't like his whole like I don't what I liked was how he was projected. It's just like I'm here to get a like he's like I want to get a
evil
job.
landlord.
Yeah, but he was
Yeah.
just like what is this? And like he's just all pissed off, and I'm like, as soon as he hangs up that phone, he's gonna be like salesman. Hey, how you doing? And it was like, wasn't wrong. So
Yeah, very much a caricature.
yeah.
But like the one storyline that I did end up really liking. I know I talk shit on the other like main romance ones and all that,
So good.
but I liked that the one guy inside of the hospital actually didn't want to date her and was actually just trying to be nice to her. I was like, oh, good. She can be single and figure out what it means to be herself. And then they went and did the whole bullshit ending.
Well, I'm pretty sure it landed pretty well in the 50s.
I'm sure it landed pretty. I'm sure it probably lands pretty well with people like even modern. Like sometimes I'll watch movies or read books and I go, these two should not be together. And then I go to the internet, and everyone's like, oh my god, I loved when they kissed, and I was like,
They kissed?
I don't get it.
Yeah, you want to know something that's also fun? This year, we are closer to 2050 than we are to 1950.
Anyway, I don't think I have anything.
Do you think
else to
we're
add to
gonna
this movie.
have another like 50 like these movies come out in 2050 but in color? Like we're just going to go
We've exhausted every type
Yeah.
of movie.
ima-
It'll instead just be a bunch of movies where they pretend to be in the 1950s.
done by AI.
Ugh, I hope not. I hope people are allowed to still have jobs.
As somebody who is looking at the job market, I saw like 32 jobs to help train AI.
They already steal enough stuff
They don't pay enough.
to be willing to give them all of your
Yeah.
brain power to take the job anyway in the end.
I'm like, well, I'm not even going to open it up because it's $20 an hour. Which, on the other side, I didn't open it up, so I don't know how many hours. But that feels like, hey, okay, you trained the AI, now you're out of a job.
Yeah. If you do a good job, you're
Yeah,
fired.
And you do a bad job, you're fired.
Yeah. There's no winning.
So, but yeah, no, I saw it. It's like all these different ones. all these different branches all for the same one. And I'm like, that's weird. I'm glad I don't know enough about computers to even like, what would I do? Just like, hello, Eva. Do the turning test. And then I'll be like, Hop, I died. Fun story. It has nothing to do with the movie we watched, but the video game Mega Man Battle Network. Are you familiar of its existence at all? It was for the Game Boy Advanced.
No, I'm not.
So that's Mega Man in a realm where pretty much they have like they have personal computer, like kind of how like our smartphones are on there, but like the operating system has a personality and they all like customize it to be like certain things, and they can go on the web and literally like shoot guns and swords at viruses. But you learn out this. I don't really care if I'm going to spoil this, but they find pretty much the way they do. You learn later is that the first they call them net navies was Mega Man, who it turns out that the main character had a twin brother that died in childbirth, and his dad scanned his soul and made it digital and made him an AI. So all other AI is based off of his brother. And that's what I'm waiting to happen here.
That's the next step, of course.
Yes. We can all be digi-humans, and then we'll be Digimons. But anyway, yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this movie as well.
No,
like
it's a shorter movie and everything's pretty straightforward in it. There's like a lot of kind of like general montages in it that show you like the day in the life of recovering with polio. So
I will say one thing that I have been noticing, and I don't know if this is just a directorial choice of the day or if this is something from Lupino, that we don't see now, is that we hear character thoughts.
yes, we do hear inner thoughts.
And so in both movies that was the case, and it's like it's got a little bit of reverb, weavy audio stuff.
It's very distinct, audio.
Yeah. And like how like you can hear like everyone that's in her mind encouraging her to take whether you like or don't like that person.
Oh yeah, her just constantly hearing in the voice, "Be a woman for me."
Yeah.
Sorry, I hate men.
Hey.
You heard it here, folks.
Yeah. Now me as an independent woman. But yeah. So yeah, that was one thing I was trying to find, and I think this one's a little bit more difficult to know what is her like
versus the style.
Yeah, versus the style of the time, because I just haven't watched, like, these are like the oldest movies I've ever watched. So yeah, so it will be interesting, but yeah, I will say like so far her both movies do seem more grounded within the time and space that they're at, where it's just like,
yeah, I was kind of hinting towards that earlier,
Yeah.
where I said they feel like a slice of life more than trying to be a grand concept.
so that will be interesting to see as we go to the next movie, Outrage, which, interestingly enough, I was just peeking at the Wikipedia of this, and I'm wondering if this is going to be closer to what we look
Nowadays,
look at as noir. So but yeah, we won't know until we know. So deep ideas from Deeping. But anyway, that is it. If you liked it, thanks. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. If you got anything to say, write in the YouTube comments. I will be uploading last week's episode as soon as we're done here.
Hooray! Behind the scenes peaks.
Yep. Because I also have to upload Black Klansman. So, anyway, that is it. Hope you all have a good rest of your whatevers, and we'll see you. Do you have anything else you want to say, Hop, before I say bye?
Bye.
Bye.